Digital 410 Productions proudly presents the What's in Your Head podcast.
Digitized live from the ACT Computer Studios in Cape Coral, Florida, it's the What's in Your Head podcast with your hosts Gordon and Don Abernathy.
What's up, OG5? It's Tuesday and we're back, and I'm going to start the show like I always do, screaming about Facebook, but I'm not. I'm just going to say I'm trying to get into the live stream chat, and the stupid live stream's not showing up on my Facebook app because it's garbage. But anyhow, Gordon, how are you doing, my friend?
Guess what? I have just gone to YouTube because it's not even showing up on my...
Oh, that's right. I forgot. We got our pee-pee smacked, and I thought it was only for What's the Scuttlebutt, but apparently... Hold on. Breaking news. Breaking motherfucking news. Hold on. Welcome, Twitter. Welcome, Twitch. Welcome, YouTube. Facebook's a bitch. I thought me getting my pee-pee smacked was only for the What's the Scuttlebutt podcast, but... since they're all tied to my personal page, the band is network-wide. What band, you might say? Well, for the first time since 2018, since I started these podcasts, I got my pee-pee smacked by Facebook for posting a picture of a person portraying a German commander in a German uniform during World War II on a Facebook page for a show that does content only about World War II. That the people who can see the content or only go to people who subscribe to a page that's content is about World War II. It's not a right-wing extremist group using pictures of Nazi propaganda to promote or fucking entice people. It's a podcast about World War II. We had an author on who has a book about German papers. The guy gets hired by Hollywood to generate reproduction German paperwork for television and movie, and he is a reenactor who does German. And because on his helmet, on his hat, really, really small, you had to zoom in, there was a swastika, and I didn't block it out. Now, I know that in Germany, it is illegal to display a swastika for good fucking reason. But the last time I checked, I signed up for Facebook.com and not Facebook.de. Now, with that being said, if Facebook wanted to tag my photo so that it wouldn't show up on Facebook.de, I am perfectly fine with that. Be honest with you, I'm perfectly fine with them taking my photo down. What does this have to do with this and that and the other thing? Well, see, the fine people at Facebook sent me a message, and I thought it was only for What's the Scuttlebutt, and my penalty, my jail sentence, my probation, if you will, is the fact that, A, I can't live stream for 26 days. Wasn't a problem because we don't live stream on the What's the Scuttlebutt podcast app because for some reason Restream.io will only allow me to either live stream to my D-Train page, my Don Abernathy page, or my What's in Your Head page. They will not give me the option to broadcast to the What's the Scuttlebutt page, so I didn't think it was an issue. They said that I could not pay to advertise or to promote my podcast for 26 days. Not a problem. I stopped paying you fuckers 2 years ago. And the one that kind of ticked me off was they said they were going to basically bury any of my posts at the bottom of people's timelines so they cannot be seen. So here we are, live stream on the What's in Your Head podcast, and we can't see the live stream. Apparently,
yeah, I'm digging through it, and I can even go to live, and it's not even there.
Gordon, if you could log into the What's the Scuttlebutt podcast or talk for a minute, and I'll just put a link to YouTube and tell people that we are banned from streaming, so if they want to watch the stream, they got to watch it on YouTube.
Unfortunately, it's like the three people that watch us are always on Facebook.
Well, I'm copying the link. I'm going to go to Facebook now, but that's interesting. I thought it was strictly for that particular group and that page, but apparently it's all the way across the board.
Definitely not. I'm on the What's in Your Head podcast page.
Yeah, me too.
And nothing. So I even went to my home and nothing. Yeah, Facebook could go take a lying leap,
Mm-hmm. And luckily, Facebook is starting to lose clout, and we've talked about this in the past. If you're on Pandora or YouTube, you'll see promotions for Facebook where they're advertising for Facebook groups.
Hey, Morgan, I see you're on YouTube. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, they are on Facebook groups, and so they know that no one uses the Facebook freestanding anymore. And so they are all advertising and marketing groups because, well, that's going to be the way they're going. So yeah, so that's funny though.
Welcome to the not so dark side. Still the dark
Mhm.
side.
So yeah, that's
So
interestingly enough, we just created a What's the Scuttlebutt Instagram page who's owned by Facebook. And I only did that because Jeff wanted to. And I said, look, I'll start one and you can manage it. I have way too many pages to manage. And so he's kind of taking that one up.
very good.
Yeah, that's fun. So
So
we haven't been canceled, but we are officially shadow banned on Facebook.
I don't even call that shadow ban. That was just straight up ban.
Well, no, because they
Yeah.
say they're the exact message, and I posted on my D-Train page. Let me pull it up here. Switch profiles, go to D-Train, and watch it freeze. You can't go live right now. To prevent many misuse, we've temporarily restricted your ability to use this feature on Facebook.
So your misuse
can-
is just showing historical accurate uniforms based on history.
Yes.
You're not pushing for Nazism. You're
Nope.
not pro-Nazi.
Nope.
You're just literally trying to show a little history.
I was literally promoting my
Reminding people
podcast
how-
where I have a. Oh, let me. This is even better. I was promoting a World War II podcast whose guest is an American citizen, a retired Marine. He's a citizen now, but he was the son of a sailorman. He was actually born on Guam, so he was born on
Son of a
Guam.
Sailorman.
He's a Navy rat. He joined the Marine Corps, served in the Marines. He's an author, published author, a historian. He is you'll like this, he is a graphic designer,
Okay.
and he puts all his historical studies into graphic design, i.e. textiles, old typing, old documentation, font, the alignment, all the shit you learned back in the day before you're using computers. He goes to Europe and buys old paperwork. He doesn't collect helmets. He doesn't collect uniforms other than ones he wears. He collects the 1940s, early 30s paperwork, the shit that disintegrates. And he collects it and he researches it. And once again, he makes paperwork for movies and television. I posted a picture like I do all the time. Every time a person's on our show, we post photos of them. And if they're reenactors, we post photos of them in their uniforms. And I have posted photos of other Germans who've been on the show. Yes, he was in an SS uniform. But still, once again, this is a World War II podcast page. And the only people who see the content are people who signed up for the page. So, with that being said, we had our pee-pee smacked and we cannot broadcast. And so that was the message I just got when I switched to my D-Train page because I was trying to stream live on there. But the actual warning I got, which I posted the other day, and its wonderfulness is this. Restrictions, as we've gone over. You cannot go live for 26 days. You cannot advertise for 26 days, and your post will be moved lower in the news feed for 20.
Could it go any lower than it already is?
Yeah, right. Basically, we
Jesus
buried
Christ.
you.
It's sliding you right under the crack of the door at this point.
Yeah, it's like, the newspaper under the newspaper in the birdcage? That's where you're at now.
That's too good for us.
Yeah. So, I'm just going to go into restream.io and I'm going to turn off the stream to Facebook. And Facebook. And so right now it's on YouTube and Twitch. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, shit. Sorry, people of D-Train. That was the... I just turned off the Twitter feed. It's back on now. It said D-Train. I thought that was the D-Train Facebook page. But that was the Twitter feed. But yeah, we got...
So,
How ironic is it, though, that we're streaming on Twitter, which is usually the place that shuts people down, but Facebook knocked
you
our dick
give
in
it
the
5 minutes. But speaking of pee-pee slapped,
dirt. Mm-hmm.
my dog, my young pup of almost 17 months, he did something today he's never done before.
Humped.
Well, he's humped before, but it's what he humped.
Stuffed animals. Your wife.
No, he does that all the
The
time.
cat.
My poor cat. So I give Katina a call on the way home from work, as I typically do when I'm pulling out of the parking lot. And she's first thing out of her mouth.
Called your
is,
wife while you were pulling out.
Yep. she answers the phone. She says, "There's a problem with your son."
Uh-oh.
Actually, she said, "Little boy, your little boy." I'm like,
Oh.
okay. Now the voice wasn't so serious, so I wasn't worried. And I asked her, "What's up?" She goes, "Well, Sabrina's downstairs," and I thought she had gone back up because she's been trying to come down more, which is good for her. And I think it's because he's restrained on a leash and that all the time.
Mm-hmm.
She goes, "I didn't realize she's still down here. I went into the ladies' room and brought the dog on leash with me because you can't let him run around. He'll jump up on shit and hurt himself. Didn't realize the cat was in there. Well, he came in, he pinned the cat down, and he had his way with her."
No means
Of course,
no.
I had to ask two important questions to me at that time. One, how many humps?
Does it take to
And-
get to the center of a cat's rump?
And
Let's
two, what
find out.
part of her? Because a dog will hump about everything, right?
Well, I don't want to be that guy, but to make your wife
She
feel
had three
better,
humps, and it was her rump.
to make your wife feel better, it is just a sign of alpha. Because my female dog does the same thing. It'll hump stuff.
And he's a nutless wonder.
Yeah, because it has nothing to do with hormones or any of that. It's actually a dominance thing.
Well, the lipstick was out, so you know
Well, that's what happens when you wear sweatpants.
that's so they say. So yes, that was today. And then the other thing I was kind of noticing is I am glad I park in my garage. Reason being is catalytic converter thefts have spiked to an all-time high. We've literally gone from 30 reported in 2018 to 1,894 last year.
It's amazing. Like, you guys caught up with where Kentucky was 8 years ago. I remember like 8 or 9 years ago, I was at Johnny's house, and he was telling me that they're having problems throughout his neighborhood in Erlanger, Kentucky, with people coming out their driveways and finding their catalytic converters gone.
It's happening so bad that the parking for any of the games or any events at Allegiant Stadium over by work, they're starting to put the little blinky cop lights above the cameras because people are actually stealing catalytic converters off of cars in the parking lot where parking lot attendants are.
You know who I blame for
That
this?
some of these parking lot attendants are in on it.
You know who
but,
I
you
blame
know.
for this? The people
Who do
who manufacture lithium battery operated fucking angle grinders. If they didn't have battery operated angle grinders, you cannot. It would take you forever and a day to do it with a hacksaw.
So you're saying we just should ban all that and go back to hacksaws?
Well, why not? If it's good enough for guns, it's good enough for battery operated angle grinders. If you want to stop people from getting killed, you outlaw guns. You want to stop
Well,
catalytic
you and I
converters from being
both
stolen.
know-
If you want to stop catalytic converters from being stolen, you need to outlaw the sales of battery operated angle grinders. It's,
But we know banning guns doesn't stop people from getting killed.
I don't know what world you live in. It's perfectly sound. Just like in New York, they have no crime, and they can afford to send 33 cops to sit around the parking lot of a Burger King and arrest people who refuse to leave who aren't vaccinated.
That's like saying nobody gets shot in Chicago with their gun control that is
Yep.
so good.
So,
Like the worst town in America. Anyway,
yeah.
that's kind of it, Just just been doing the grind, working. Oh, I have noticed the 2022 Toyota Tundra is taking a beating.
From who?
Evidently, they're having a wastegate issue with. They're having a myriad of issues because it is a brand new platform, and as you and I both know, you never buy the first or second run of a new redesigned vehicle. Anything.
Being the first on your block, especially when it comes like technology, and you young cats don't know this, but us old fucks, we remember when the iPhone first came out, and when the pod. Fun fact: podcast was a play on word by some dipshit who thought it was funny because this was a form of broadcasting for people with iPods. When the
So
iPods first came out, these dipshit dumb fucks would sleep on the sidewalk for days. I'm gonna be the first guy to get an iPhone, and then for like the first 6 months, they're bitching about the battery life sucking, the overheating, the things not working.
Mhm.
It doesn't pay to be the first on the block when it comes to anything. Give it time to work out the bugs. And now
I
it's even worse
prefer-
because even when it comes to cars, with the exception of the mechanical components, there is no quality control. Why? Because everything can be pushed out with an update. So why make sure it works before we push it out, and when we can just roll it out, make the money now, and fix
Well,
problems with
well-
updates and recalls?
and we'll figure out the true problems by pushing it out, and then fix them on the fly.
You know, my buddy.
But actually, you were talking about podcasts and the terminology. I still prefer what I heard as the first term of it was internet radio.
Yeah. But see,
I know it's a mouthful.
But see, some guy thought, well, we're not broadcasting, and most people listen on their iPods, and that's why I hated the word.
Are you sitting in your pod doing a podcast?
I used to hate, because I was such an anti-Apple guy. I loathed, and I almost was like, didn't listen to podcasts for a while because I just didn't want to call them podcasts, because I still think it's the world's dumbest name. But it is what it is. You know, it's funny talking about cars. My buddy, he bought that, what's the fancy Dodge?
Rebel?
The Rebel.
Or the T-Rex is that?
Well, he had the Rebel, though, not the T-Rex. And he bought a used Rebel, and he got all the extended warranties, which good thing he did.
It's a Dodge.
Because it's a Dodge, and he'd come home, and the airbags would be deflated because it had a shuttlecock or fucking valve cock leak. Got that
You wanted to
fixed.
say shuttlecock, didn't you?
Yep, shuttlecock. And he had a few other issues. Luckily, he got the extended warranty. But long story short, at some point when the price of gas going up, he traded the thing within a year and got himself a Laramie. Now, I giggle to myself every time I hear Laramie because I think of The Simpsons, because that's the name of the cigarettes on The Simpsons, the Laramie cigarettes.
It's also a town in Wyoming.
So, well, it's a big truck. Wyoming makes sense. So he got the Laramie, brand new. And it being a
Did
Dodge.
it have a shuttlecock leak?
Worse.
Actually, do you know what a shuttlecock really is?
Yes, it's the birdie in badminton.
There you
You think
go.
I'm a
'Cause I
fucking
think we used
idiot?
the word wrong. Well, you're the one who called it a shuttlecock.
Well, I was thinking of a valve cock from when I used to install the air tanks on ambulances that had a
Ron's
air
got
ride
cock
system.
on his mind.
Yes, all the time. So he got the Laramie, and he had to take it in. I was like, "What's going on with it?"
His name's not Jeremy, is it?
No. He has the power rear window like I do on my my Tundra,
Mm-hmm.
and it wasn't opening and closing correctly.
Imagine that.
Come to find out, the track is bent.
Oh!
Now, how does the
So
track
much for
get bent
quality
on
control.
a brand new fucking... Well, here's the problem. Well, not for him. He's got the warranty.
No, they still got a dicker with his car.
They got a super dicker with his car because the track is not a field replaceable unit. The track is
Nice.
built into the window at the plant, so he's not like they can just take it in and replace the track. They got to pop out, break the factory seal, and replace his entire rear window at a fucking car dealership. Now, I know the guys at the car dealerships are fine mechanics, but something makes me a little weary anytime you got to break that factory seal that's done by robotics programmed to get that shit down to a cunt hair. And you
Oh,
having
so he's gonna
Steve
have a
and
leaky
Dave
window.
doing it with a fucking hydraulic arm that they stole off the closest fucking safeguard light truck and popping that shit in. And he's like, well, the thing is, I got to drop it off twice. I'm like, why is that? Well, they got to put the window in. Then they got to tint it. Let me repeat that process. First, they got to put the window in, and then they got to tint it.
So this isn't a factory tinted privacy glass. Is that what I'm gathering?
Oh, wrong board. Apparently not. Or if it is, it's not to his level of tint to his desire. Because, you know, some of those factory tints are a little more universal depending on state guidelines and all that bullshit. Now, Gordon, you're a project manager kind of guy.
Yeah.
If you're running a mechanic shop and one of the services you offer at said facility is to tint windows, that means you probably have a window tinter on staff.
Well, it's funny you ask.
And if you're going to have two fellas completely remove a factory window and replace it, and you have a window tinter on staff, wouldn't it be quicker and possibly easier to tint the window first and then put it in?
My opinion is yes. However, not knowing the means and methods of putting in this window, would it actually prevent the tint getting scratched and or damaged while putting it in pre-tinted than post-tinted.
I don't know. Perhaps. Nothing the little masking tape won't protect. I don't know. I just...
Yes, one would think. Now, that being said,
Because you...
depending on the size of the dealership, they may actually farm out the tent job.
Yeah, they could. But still, you could say, hey, we're going to have this window here on Thursday of next week. Can I get a tent guy here Thursday next week?
Now, they're going to build up a bunch of clients so they can have a bunch of windows to tent at the same time, because that'll actually save them money.
Yeah, I reckon. The last time I got my Jetta
Correct 'em.
tinted, I had to take it back because the tinting guy got fucking dirty tent water all over the headline of our brand new Jetta.
I thought that happened with the Toyota when I picked it up, but then I realized the only tinting they did was my driver and passenger window. It was all just the privacy glass in the back, which I'm not real hip on because it actually offers no UV protection. However, that I've got a dog that likes to scratch at the windows, I'm actually fine with it because the privacy glass will not scratch like the tent.
Did you see that TikTok I sent you the other day about the ceramic tent?
Yeah, I've actually seen ceramic tent.
Did you see the video I sent you?
Probably not.
Guy spent I've never seen ceramic tent. Apparently, it's only tinted on one side, so from the inside, it doesn't look dark. If anybody has tinted windows, you know how sometimes at night, especially in a town like Cape Coral that doesn't have fucking street lights, when you make that left-hand turn, sometimes you got to roll your fucking window down to make sure there's no pedestrians walking around. So I guess they got this stuff called ceramic tent. From the outside, think of it like a privacy window at a police station. From the outside, it's super dark. Inside, it's perfectly fine.
So you feel like you're fishbowling, but you're not.
This guy's like, I paid the extra money for the super expensive ceramic tent, and the dumb motherfucker put it on backwards. So from the outside of the car, it's completely clear, and he got in the cab, and it's fucking dark as shit.
Well, think about it. He feels like he's tinted, but yet he's police approved.
Tell me you went to work high as fuck without telling me you went to work high as fuck. That guy
Or it's your
went
first day on the job.
Or for some reason your fucking workshop's extremely dark and you didn't notice it while he's probably first time doing ceramic tent. So when he's sitting inside and it's dark, he's like, oh, well, this is the way it is when I tint regular windows.
So when they pulled it outside, they didn't even fucking notice?
I don't know. It was in the shop and he just showed the outside, opened the door and got in. It was dark as shit. He's like, this motherfucker put the tent on backwards. But what I don't understand is you would think there'd only be adhesive on one side. So did he put it on the wrong side of the window?
You put it on the outside of the
He would have had to, right? Because it's only adhesive on one side, so how would you put it on backwards? Unless it was a completely fake TikTok video and they did it intentionally.
Well, and they could, or is it adhesive, or is it just all by static and water?
Well, if it was all by static and water, no, because I've taken tint off of windows before, and it does leave a little bit of a stickiness.
Like when you put that screen protector on your phone, is it adhesive on that side?
No, but that stuff's more like glass, though. It's not... Unless... when I tinted my windows back in 1994, there's adhesive on it, and when I've had to take my tint off my Firebird, because Firebirds don't have the top of the door, the window has friction seal against the rubber gasket along the T-tops. And
Yes.
so what would happen was the tent would slowly start to roll down on my driver's side, which didn't matter because I had lifetime warranty, and I would just pull it and cut it, and there'd be a little bit of stickiness on the window. So I know
Okay.
most of them are adhesive. You would think it would prevent roll down in the future, but...
Oh, wow.
Speaking of cars, we'll get right into it.
Okie dokie.
Via our friends, who I don't know over GM Authority. Now, I doubt this is a GM product because a real GM sponsored website would not run this story. But according to GM Authority-com .cdn.ampproject.org, Chevy Silverado and GMC Sierras have major engine problems, says Consumer Reports.
No.
That might explain why my buddy, the mechanic, traded in his Silverado for a taco. The Chevy Silverado and GMC Sierra are hugely popular pickup trucks, but now both nameplates have been singled out for having a major engine problem. Well, that's because they're the same fucking truck with a different badge. Per a recent post from the nonprofit consumer organization Consumer Reports, the Chevy Silverado and GMC Sierra are tied as the recent models most likely to exhibit major engine problems. The Silverado and the Sierra are both pointed out as I previously said, they're the same truck under different brands according to Consumer Reports. Why do you have to put according to Consumer Reports? It's the fucking truth. But anyhow, I digress. Consumer Reports listed several vehicles most likely to exhibit reliability issues in the organization's 17th key trouble spots, which, in addition to major engine issues, also include engine cooling issues, major transmission issues, drive system issues, electronic system issues, and climate control issues. Notable.
Like everything but the radio.
Well, that's not. Well, that's true, but that's not for this truck. That was the topics that the article covered. So not only did the article cover engine, but they also covered blah blah blah. Notably, the 2020 Buick Encore GX was the vehicle to most likely have brake system issues. Fucking
I
fantastic.
think the Enclave was the one, or the Encore was the one built in China. I forget which one.
According to Consumer Reports, 4% of Chevy Silverados and GMC Sierra owners reported some kind of major issue, including full engine replacements, as well as cylinder head related issues. Major engine issues include as engine rebuilds or replacement cylinder head problems, which they just said in the previous sentence, head gasket problems, turbocharger or supercharger problems, and timing chain and timing belt problems. Overall, Consumer Reports gives the 2021 Chevy Silverado 1500 and the GMC Sierra 1500 1 out of 5 with regards to reliability scoring. As a reminder, the 21 Silverado 1500 and the 21 Sierra 1500 are both offered prior to the full model refresh introduced in 2022. That's not a fucking excuse because that means it's at the end of its model life. Those bugs should have been fixed prior. I can understand these problems being, as you were saying, with prior to the show, or maybe at the beginning of the show, with Toyota having some problems because they just rolled out their new model. So one could argue that having these issues on a newer refreshed model would make more sense than having them on the legacy model. But anyhow, 22, as well as before the pre-fresh 22 Silverado 1500 Limited, the GMC Sierra 1500 Limited. Engines option for the 2021 models year included turbocharged 2.7 liter 14L3B gasoline engines, naturally aspirated 4.3 liter V6 LV3 gasoline engines, yada, yada, yada. Both pickups ride on the GMC T1 platform. So, yeah, that's... I mean, Gordon and I both were born in Kentucky, raised in Ohio, and back in those days, you were either a GM family or a Ford family. There was no ands, ifs, or buts motherfucking
Yeah,
about
Dodge
it.
didn't even really equate very much,
And
except for the weirdo down the street.
We were pretty much a Chevy family.
And, yeah. Well,
And it wasn't until down here in Florida. I mean, Dad had a Ford F-350 when he lived in California. And he had a Chevy Blazer back in the day. And we had
that Blazer was badass.
You had a Chevy S10. And I had a Ford Escort. And Dad bought Melody a Pontiac Firebird. And anyhow, it wasn't until the early 2000s when we bought our fleet van. And Dad bought a Chevy, and I had that Pontiac and was buying brand new GM OEM parts. On the box said made in Malaysia. And we were having all these car problems that I said, fuck it. I traded the Fire Chicken in, got a Chevy Colorado. That thing was the biggest piece of dog turd in the world. And that's when I went Toyota. I got rid of the Chevy Colorado, went to Toyota. Carrie had a Ford Mustang. Constantly having problems. She said, fuck it. We went to Volkswagen, and we've been buying Volkswagens and Toyotas ever since. Dad finally got rid of the Chevys. He went over to, what the hell's Toyota's other little brand?
Scion.
They got a couple Scions, and then he's driving a Taco now. And, you know, people say, well, buying that Jap truck, you ain't buying American. Well, as I previously stated there, Cliff, GM's making their parts over in fucking Malaysia, shipping them over here and assembling them
In Mexico.
In Mexico and sometimes Detroit, whereas Toyota makes all their parts overseas, ships them to San Antonio or Georgia and assembles them here. So what's the fucking difference?
Well, or actually, my truck was built in Baja, but, you know, same thing.
Point being, the American
money,
companies don't even make trucks here. They assemble them here. So
It's that world economy.
speaking of Toyota and famous people, my Taco used to have a GoPro mount on it, on the
They
windshield.
got rid of that.
Well, because the only reason it was there is they used to sponsor Travis Pastrana and the Nitro Circus people.
Yes.
And I think back in the day, if you would probably got the Toyota Taco TDR Supermax, they probably gave you a free GoPro to go with the GoPro mount on the inside of your windshield.
Here's a $200 camera.
Has the sun set on Red Bull and Monster Energy? And
I'm
Rockstar?
glad.
Do you think they have set?
I think it's slowing down, especially with my favorite beverage company out there making some waves. I actually sent you a video today of a local Baja truck driver named BJ Baldwin and his his Toyota Tundra race truck. And what was that logo?
Well, I'm guessing it's the Black Rifle Coffee logo.
Sure is.
Now, I have a Monster Energy sign in my garage because when I worked at K-Rock, I used to hang in the studios, and after the program director changed and we stopped getting free Monster Energy, certain people wanted it out of the studio, and so I took it home. But I haven't drank Monster since I passed 2 kidney stones, and you just don't see it everywhere unless you turn on the Extreme Sports show. But I bring all this up, and ironically, Gordon kind of answered the question. MotorcrossActionMagazine.com reports Travis Pastrana leaves Red Bull and signs with Black Rifle Coffee. Travis,
Black Rifle, let's stop right there for a second. They're doing a really good job of helping normalize guns and making it acceptable. I know a lot of people slammed them and Evan for his views by not backing Kyle, but as Evan said, hey, I am not going to make profit off of this tragedy. The guy is very level-headed, and some of these idiots, just like the far left, the far right, they go after people without really knowing, because I listen to their podcasts and them all the time, and they're very consistent in their message.
Travis Pastrana posted on his Instagram, quote, "I want to take a moment to thank Red Bull for all they have done for me and my endeavors over the years. It has been an honor to be part of the brand that has done so much for action sports and helped me to reach so many of my goals. Today is the end of an era, and I'm making a switch to Black Rifle Coffee Company. I have some good friends running BRCC, and they have been doing amazing things for their community while giving back to the armed forces and first responders, all while pushing the limits of freedom and fun whenever possible. When I asked if at Art 15 Pilot TX could fly his Little Bird helicopter while a minigun rained shells on my Subaru while I slid underneath another Instagram handle and flew over the blades of his dirt bike with the American flag as a cape, Black Rifle Coffee Company didn't ask why. They just smiled big and they made it happen. When I asked if they wanted me to come down to Puerto Rico after Hurricane Maria to help us rebuild some motor tracks and put roofs back on homes of families who lost everything, Black Rifle stepped up huge. J Tactical 15 on Instagram even came down and helped personally. I'm guessing that's probably Evan or somebody.
That's JT. Yeah.
They didn't want branding or a big thank you. BRCC just wanted to be part of it. As Black Rifle has grown, they have been able to come on board with more and more of my crazy projects. I had a dream stunt of jumping my Subaru over Ego Alley in my hometown of Annapolis, Maryland, while my childhood friends, sorry, bunch more fucking Instagram handles here. Let me skip past this. My childhood friends, multiple-time world offshore powerboat champion, also from Annapolis, powered underneath another Instagram handle's boat. We didn't have the budget to make it happen if it wasn't for the help out of Black Rifle. So long story short, he's making a switch.
I can't wait to see the Subaru with the Black Rifle logo on it. That's going to be awesome, especially since I'm a Subaru drivers, and I am one.
Well, they got him in his...
are anti-gun,
They got him on his bike, his dirt bike riding, and as you would expect, his jersey is a new kind of black and gray camo with the Black Rifle Coffee Company just written across the front, and he's got the BBRC logo on his helmet. But yeah, I think people are kind of getting wise to the energy drinks as far as that shit goes, and yeah, I think I don't know. I think a couple more years from now, when people see Monster and Red Bull. They're just going to think early 2000s. I think the whole trend on that shit has sailed.
Yeah, and they're going to just think of chemical taste.
Yeah.
You know, there's just
Isn't that amazing?
coffees. There's so many coffees out there that's so good.
When you think of the beverages that we drank, and Dave and I used to talk about this, in the early to mid 2000s, how many products that were we voluntarily buying and consuming that, truthfully, put your bravado aside, truthfully tasted like shit? 5 Hour Energy tasted like shit. Red
Proud
Bull.
to say I never tried that.
Red Bull tastes like shit.
We always said that tasted like liquefied Smarties.
Monster Energy, not the Zero. The white Zero was better, but all of it still tasted like shit. So much of that stuff that we used to consume gallons of, and I think my cousin still drinks gallons of Monster every day. But yeah,
It's that
Tastes
sugar
like
getting the
shit.
hooks in. You
Yeah.
know.
Silverado done. Travis leaves Red Bull done.
Hey, you know the Grammys had been postponed this year?
The who what's?
The Grammys was postponed. Yeah, none of us watch it. But the only reason I'm bringing this up is COVID and the California has chased the Grammys out of California to Vegas this year. So we welcome the money.
Are they still hostless, or is that the Oscars who went hostless?
No, they got Noah, what's his nose from The Daily Show.
God, I hate that fuck.
Trevor Noah.
Remember the day after Trump lost, and I said his very first advertisement for the Daily Show was about a duck-billed platypus, and I played it on the show?
Yes.
Because kind of like, now I was never a Sarah Palin fan.
No.
But I am also not a fan of ran into the ground fucking monologues and comedy. You know when I stopped listening to David Letterman and watching David Letterman? When 2 years after Sarah Palin was out of office and wasn't even on the political landscape, his monologues were still consisting of Sarah Palin jokes. And it's like,
Beating a dead horse there, bud.
well, fucking Trevor Noah does the same thing. I saw it because when you watch CBS or any company any channel that's part of the partnership who owns Comedy Central, you'll see his commercials.
So unfortunately, is also Paramount and Paramount Plus.
And he was doing another Trump commercial the other day. It's like, oh, running back that same ground. I guess you can only get so much fucking movement out of duck-billed platypus videos. But
Absolutely. And speaking of that network, what's interesting with, I think is interesting with Yellowstone, the series, and also 1883 is they're in fact a MTV production.
yeah, which is weird because MTV is owned by Viacom, or at least used to be, which is CBS.
But it's all same. It's all the same network. So,
Do you think maybe they slapped the MTV logo on there to give it cool guy clout instead
Little
of putting
relevance.
Viacom on there?
yeah, it makes it look like they got money because they're definitely well put together shows. That is for sure. Speaking of which, how far through the Ray Donovan series are you?
All of them, because I know they got dropped by Netflix, which was weird.
Well, we did go ahead and pick up Showtime because we've seen all of them, and now the movie is out, and we did watch the movie.
Now let me ask you this: was the movie better than the long-awaited 10-year fucking Deadwood movie?
I haven't seen a Deadwood movie. We did just pick up HBO Max, so I expect to see that shortly.
It's good, but it's gonna. It wasn't 10 years in the waiting good. Let me just say that.
I just hope the Justified miniseries that's coming out is good. you
Well,
know?
it's funny. I had that on my list, but I actually had that pulled up, but I don't know where it went. I must have accidentally closed that out. So that's on my list of shit. The Justified spinoff, which is called City Primeval.
Which, from what I understand, that author had a series called City Primeval, but it was no Raylan Givens. So I don't know. Hopefully, it's not some weird stretch.
Let's see. According to IGN, Justified confirmed the return as a miniseries with Timothy Olyphant updated. Updated on 1/14/22, Justified has been confirmed to return as a new limited series on FX subtitled City Primeval. Timothy Olyphant will return and play U.S. Marshal Randall Givens. Per THR, will indeed be based on Elmore Leonard's City Primeval, High Noon in Detroit. Original showrunner Graham Yost will serve as executive producer, Well, Dave, yada, yada, yada. The description of the story reads, having left the hollers of Kentucky 8 years ago, Randall Gibbons now lives in Miami. And walking, a walking anchorism, whatever the fuck that means. Balancing his life in the U.S. Marshals and a part-time father of a 14-year-old girl. His hair is grayer, his hat is dirtier, and the road in front of him suddenly a lot shorter than the road behind him. Chances of encounters of desolate Florida highways sends him to Detroit. There he crosses paths with Clement Mansell, a.k.a. the Oklahoma Wild Man, a violent sociopath desperado who already slipped through the fingers of Detroit's finest once and aims to do so again. Mansell lawyer, formidable Motor City native Carolyn Wilder has every intention of representing her client, even if she finds herself caught in between the cops and the criminals, with her own game afoot as well. These three characters set out blah blah blah. Doesn't give a very enticing fucking storyline, but if it's the same people who put out the original Justified, I'm down. Do 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 do. Do, 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 do. Do, 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 do.
And now for the What's in Your Head podcast TikTok lesson of the week.
People from down south are like, oh my gosh, it's 60 degrees, it's so cold.
Oh boy. I'm going to give you some perspective from an Alaskan. You see this right here? Alaska, yeah, I was born and raised there. And now I'm living in the South, and guess what? It does get cold down here. I would rather be in Alaska with 0 to negative temperatures than be in Georgia when it's 30 or less with any kind of a wind or a breeze. See, in the north, we have dry air. In the south, you have humidity, which means you have humidity in the wintertime, which means that the air turns to ice, and with a breeze, it cuts straight to the bone. 20 degrees in Alaska, I'd wear a hoodie or a t-shirt outside. 20 degrees in Georgia, I'm putting a jacket on. No shame. I get made fun of all the time. Oh, you're from Alaska, you got that big old jacket on? Aren't you used to the cold? Yes, but not this cold. Not to mention it can be 70 or 80 in the daytime and 30 degrees at night. That's a 50-degree difference with no time to acclimate. So the next time you guys see someone in the South bundled up saying it's cold, don't make fun of them because it does get cold down here. And that's coming from a lifelong
And this
Alaskan.
has been the What's in Your Head
Yeah,
podcast
let's just make fun of
TikTok
them anyway.
lesson of the
It's
week.
fun.
Ironically, I was in Georgia on Saturday, and it was 37 degrees, and I was fucking cold. So I won't get into it too much. I didn't really get into it on the What's the Scuttlebutt podcast, but I drove up to Georgia this year for the World War II reenactment. Took some of my duplicate stuff that I don't use and sold it, and made a little money to help finance the trip. But it got down to 37 Friday night, and I usually sleep out in a tent, but due to someone else's family issues who had to leave, a bed freed up in the loft where usually the Boy Scouts upper echelon sleep during summer camp. So I crapped out on a bed.
Well, you're considered an old now, so don't you automatically get the warm, comfortable?
I'm old. I'm more like middle age-ish in that community because the barrier to entry financially is so high that youngins are usually in their mid-20s. We do have a few 18-year-olds, but once again, most 16 to 19-year-olds, unless they have rich parents, they do not have the money that it takes to do that unless they spend 4 years to put one fucking uniform together. And so, I mean, yeah, I'm 43,
How many,
but
20 to 30-year-olds do you have?
there's more 30-year-olds, but Art is retiring this year. He's in his 60s. Sam's probably in his late 50s. Lauren's in his mid-40s. I mean, he's retired from the fucking Army. I mean, a lot of the cats down there are older. That's why when you see reenacting photos, a lot of people are so old-looking. But anyhow, so I drove up. I left here Friday morning and did the 5-hour drive and went out in the woods, and we did 2.5 miles tactical. And then, like I said, it was 60 during the day, but it was still kind of chilly. And then at night it got down to 37. So we just sat around a fire and drank Old Turkey. We killed an entire bottle of Old Turkey. I mean, Wild Turkey. I said Old Turkey because I was making fun of saying Old Crow. So we killed a bottle of Wild Turkey, half a bottle of, what's the Irish shit with the F? What's the Irish whiskey? Oh,
Not Jameson's.
no, it was Jameson. I'm saying F, but
I
no.
love Jameson's. That shit's smooth.
Half a bottle of Jameson's. I had my flask full of the Larceny, and I think we killed 2 cases of Coors. But So tied on a good dinosaur. Went to bed early. Because, when you're drinking all night, you start drinking at 6, 10:30 comes pretty fucking quick. Woke up 6 a.m., ate cold biscuits and gravy. Authentic. Went out at 9, was out until 12, came back, ate lunch, and went out from 2 and did another 45 minutes.
If they really wanted to get authentic, they'd make you dig your own latrine.
Some events. But anyhow, I was planning on coming home Sunday morning like I usually do, but they're like, oh, it's going to get really fucking rainy and high winds, and everybody's driving trucks because you got a lot of gear to carry, and you don't want your shit getting wet, and why stay the night if you're just going to have real bad high winds the next morning? So we ended up leaving around 7. I got home at 1:30 in the morning. Woke up here, 8 the next morning with fucking tornado warnings going off on our phones. And turned it out like an F2 tornado touched down in Fort Myers on a fucking trailer park, of course. Tossed a bunch of shit all over the place, fucked up some houses and fucked up some trees. And it's funny because the night before, Carrie's like, why are you going to leave? I said, there's bad weather coming. I told her, I said, I bet that's the bad weather. We were out running from fucking Georgia yesterday because it all came down from the panhandle and up north. So, yeah, so for all the people over in Fort Myers who had to deal with that fucking tornado, sorry. And I hope your insurance companies don't fuck you guys too bad on that. We talked back in the day when there was Irish ways and Irish law, stand up for the cause. I'm sorry, that's House of Pain. Remember when Coca-Cola got in trouble for telling people to be less white? And the people on TikTok were giving me grief for wearing Coca-Cola shirts. I did the whole diatribe talking about all the shit I have was purchased before the current people in office, blah, 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 blah. And I don't burn or destroy Coca-Cola shit just because some current dickhead. The company's been around a lot longer. That dickhead will be in that. Anyhow, we've talked about how Carhartt has kind of become the bougie, uppity brand now, right? To the point where your construction workers and cowboys and all that kind of getting butthurt seeing all these,
God damn it, they're taking the working man's clothes and turning it into something.
Seeing chicks and wearing Carhartt flannels and beanies. Can we say beanies nowadays? No, probably not. Saw a TikTok tonight. Guy's burning his Carhartt hoodie. Not his hoodie, his beanie.
Jesus Christ, that's a $30 beanie.
Why? What was the sin in which Carhartt made that this influencer, quote unquote, with 50,000 subscribers on his TikTok was causing him to burn?
He's got 100,000 now.
Carhartt said vaccination remains mandatory for all employees. A conservative backlash has followed. According to WashingtonPost.com, after the Supreme Court decision that large companies do not have to force workers to get coronavirus shots or tests for employees nationwide, have wandered through the High Court's ruling on vaccination mandates for labor departments, occupational safety and health, blah, 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 would no longer affect them. The issue bubbled up so much among employees at Carhartt, a Michigan-based workwear and other clothing companies. The CEO, Mark Valde, V-A-L-A-D-E, Valdale, I don't know, fuck him, emailed workers a day after the Supreme Court ruling that provided some clarity. Vaccinations remain mandatory. Quote, we put workplace safety at the very top of our priority list, and the Supreme Court's rulings does not impact the core values. According to the company emails published on social media, we and the medical companies continue to believe the vaccines are necessary to ensure safe working environments. Thus, now people are burning their Carhartt gear. Once again, as I said with my Coca-Cola, and as I said to the Pit Viper douches who were burning their Pit Viper glasses after somebody at Pit Viper went on Twitter, made an anti-Jesus comment. If you guys...
Oh, shit, you done fucked up your base right there.
If you guys stay true to yourself and don't follow fucking trends on the internet and going out and dropping money on products that you never wore formerly because now the shit's hip and cool, you wouldn't have to turn around and burn it when they say something you don't enjoy. Stay true to yourself, save some money. But reading this, I'm not. It's funny that it turns out their corporate office is in Michigan, because I was saying on What's the Scuttlebutt podcast the other day. At least down here in Florida, you can kind of tell when going into stores which companies what states their corporate offices are located in. Because if they, most all of them for legal reasons make their employees wear the mask, even Publix does. But the ones who are like still trying to mandate that customers wear masks, you know where their corporate offices are located. And so the fact that Carhartt's corporate offices are in Michigan, and we know how crazy they are up there with fucking mandates, it does not surprise me at all. But I just think it's funny because in this guy's TikTok, he said, I don't support communism, as he threw his head on the ground and proceeded to burn it. Now, I don't know about you, Gordon, but when I think about burning shit put out by people that don't share the same views with me, I think communists, because they're usually the ones burning shit. So I was going
Burning books, burning everything.
So I was actually going to stitch him and just show a bunch of shit on Google of communist burning stuff, because they're usually the ones who start setting a flame to things that are put out by people who don't share the same common values with them. So
Just don't buy their shit anymore. That's
Yeah.
all you got to do. I mean,
Why-
the shit's expensive anyway. Fuck, Carhartts are expensive 10, 20 years ago.
here's the thought. If you truly feel that way, what you do is you go down to the Dollar General, right, and get your sewing kit. And in that sewing kit, they have what's called a, not a seam buster, but we'll just call it a seam buster. And you can take the embroidery off that's holding on that 2-cent patch that says Carhartt. So you can still keep your nugget warm, still maintain the $40 you spent on the fucking thing, but then you can debrand it so people don't know it's a Carhartt, and you still feel better about yourself.
If people debadge cars, why not debadge Carhartt?
Yeah, I just kind of like I said with all my Coke shit, I bought all my stuff before the statement was made, before the people who are running the company are in office, and they're going to be around a lot longer than those people. Why would I destroy something I spent my hard-earned money on?
And I'll be damned if I get one Pepsi paraphernalia in here.
Nope, don't got one.
Maybe Mountain Dew, but
No Mountain Dew paraphernalia.
Hmm.
You know why no one's able, well, you probably know why, because you listen to the same podcast, but for those of you out there wondering why no beverage company was ever able to get close to matching the taste of Coca-Cola,
yep, I do know why.
because Coca-Cola is the only company in the United
That is-
States that has exclusivity legal rights to import, well, the coca leaf goes to the companies who make government produce cocaine, but then they get the residual oils from
Actually,
it.
I heard it backwards from one of the guys.
But anyhow, long story, as Gordon said, they're the only company in the United States that are legally allowed to import coca leaves so they can get the extract for their flavoring. They don't put cocaine in their drinks anymore, but they still use the extracts to give it that flavor. And that is why there is not a single beverage out there that gets remotely close to that
And
flavor.
when they went new Coke, that's what the part they got rid of, and it blew up in their face.
Actually, I like Rob. You can do it. Rob Schneider's hypothesis on that.
What's that?
When they went from classic Coke to new Coke and then back to classic Coke, that's when they switched from corn syrup from cane sugar to corn syrup, so no one would notice the flavor difference. Because if they just did it, like, my Coke tastes weird. But when you get a new Coke and you fuck up the flavor intentionally, and then all of a sudden you're switching back to classic Coke, and now they're using corn syrup instead of cane sugar, that's when that transition happened. But that's his.
Kind of an expensive transition, but I can
Well, they're
see it.
still doing it, but that's when they made the transition. That way people wouldn't say, Mike, this.
They had to throw an extra step in, and a little extra.
Otherwise, people say it don't taste the same. When you're trying to convince people the flavor's the same, switching from cane sugar to corn syrup, you gotta convince them the
Then
right
just throw the
way.
word classic on it, and
You got it. Where is my thing? I'll just re-import it because I don't know where I put it. Give me 1 second here. That's TikTok lesson of the week. Go down the old temporary folder. I swear to God, I need a producer up in here. Date modified. Where the fuck? Date modified. Netflix. Netflix, there you are. Okay. Oh, that's right, because there's two different ones. Do I import? Well, I'll just import them both in here. Okay, that's the first one. Here's the second one. And yeah. It's
Wrong
2021. Try it again.
If you're watching this, then I'm not around anymore. But don't spiral, don't obsess. Keep going.
So how are you?
A good day is when I don't go around wanting to shoot random strangers in the face and then turn the gun on myself.
Bad then.
I thought I'd leave you a little guide to life without me. You're lovely, but you're absolutely useless. Stay active. It's not ideal to be a fat, lazy, self-pitying lump.
Pedo!
What?
Pedo!
I'm not a pedo. And if I was, you'd be safe, you tubby little ginger.
You know how grumpy you get when things don't go your way? You've got such a good heart. You're born like it. You're just decent.
This is Sandy. If you could show her the ropes, tell her what's what. Humanity's a plague. We're a disgusting, selfish parasite, and the world would be a better place without us. That the sort of thing you meant? No.
How's Lisa?
Oh, Jesus, she's dead, Dad.
Bring Lisa with you.
Jesus Christ. You can't just go around being rude to people. You can, though.
Your dog should be on a lead.
Oh, right. Oh, sorry. Thank you. What? He is not a fat, hairy, nosy... Sorry about that.
Disgusting.
If I do and say what the I want, and then when it all gets too much, I can always kill myself. It's like a superpower. That's the worst superhero I've ever heard of.
Why don't you throw yourself into your work, okay? That's what depressed people do.
We're putting out a free local newspaper that no one cares about. That's not true.
I've seen lonely people, people dying, people in pain. I don't think I've ever met anyone quite as sad as him.
Got something for your front cover. Freddie Mercury's tooth.
He's disgusting.
Brian, not everyone can get in the paper.
Not everyone's Jackie Collins.
Have you?
No.
Cheers.
Okay.
See you again.
From the minds of Ricky Gervais, the new Netflix series, well, actually, it's been around for season 3, but new to me Netflix series, Afterlife. Tony had a perfect life until his wife Lisa died. After the tragic event, the formerly nice guy changed after contemplating taking his life. Tony decides he would rather live long enough to punish the world by saying and doing whatever the fuck he likes. He thinks of it as his superpower, not caring about himself or anybody else, but it ends up being trickier than he ever envisioned when his friends and family try to save the nice guy that they used to know. Golden Globe winner Ricky Gervais stars in the comedy series, which he also writes and directs. I will say this, I don't know, and I'm going to man enough to say this. Carrie probably doesn't even notice because she doesn't look. I don't know if it's because I'm 43, going on 44. I don't know if it's because I've had family members die in the past, but every fucking episode of this show, I tear up. Every goddamn one. As Mike Myers say, I get verklempt.
Get a little misty, do you?
I fucking hold back the fucking sound effects. I have tears running down my eyes. This show is fucking awesome, which is a saying, I used to watch the HBO animated series of the Ricky Gervais podcast. He called it the Ricky Gervais Show. I used to love it. This show is fucking fantastic. Not a big fan of Ricky's personal politics and views on the world. Watch him on Instagram and all that shit. I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? Not a big fan of his personal stuff, but the guy can fucking write. He can act. And this show is fantastic. Now, it's not all sad. It has Ricky Gervais humor built into it, the dry British humor. Funny thing about this show is it written in 2019, and then it's 3 seasons in 2020, and then all of a sudden, season 3, everybody looks a lot fucking older. Well, it's because they had to take off 2020 for the fucking pandemic.
I'm seeing that with a lot of shows.
And, but it's a great show. It's got some really raunchy humor in it. And here is Ricky Gervais' brother-in-law talking to his therapist and some of the advice his not so professional therapist gives him.
There was someone at work who did say that she liked me, but I'm not interested. And I'm just so fed up at the moment.
Fuck's sake, we all get fed up and depressed, mate.
Yeah, so I don't want to... There was someone at... No, of course I'm not. There was someone at work who I just really miss her.
We go, Rebecca, jumping up and down this bit. Just little jump, don't do so many mischief.
I can't help it, I just really miss her.
That's all fucked up. Let me try something.
Yeah,
here.
I saw it. It seems
It was
weird.
jumping all over the place. I don't know if it's my app. I don't know if it's bad editing. Let me just fast forward this a little bit, and we'll try to play it from here.
There was someone at work who said I just really miss her.
We go, Rebecca, jumping up and down this bit. Just a little jump, don't do yourself any mischief.
I can't help it. I just really miss her.
Is she having it off with anyone else?
No.
Yeah?
I mean, no, of course I'm not. There was someone at work who did say that she liked me, but I'm not interested. And I'm just so fed up at the moment.
Fuck's sake, we all get fed up and depressed, mate.
Yeah, so I don't want to. I mean, what do you do when you get depressed?
I get twatted with Ratty and the nonce.
Right.
Go to football. Start a fight. I hate all this namby-pamby nonsense, you know? This bleeding hearts. Oh, toxic masculinity. It's okay to cry. It's also okay to have 5 pints, drop a knee and do some fucking trollop from behind against the bins. Whatever floats your boat, boy. I think I broke my thumb up some bird's arse. Thing is, mate, you've got to take these opportunities when they offer themselves to you, you know? Like that bird at work.
Yeah.
Get it while you're young. Last week, right, we're pissed up in Tamburgers in town, yeah? And this waitress comes over with the food, fit. And she goes, is there anything else I can do for you, gentlemen? And it was like, ding! 5 minutes later, me and Ratty are spit roasting her in the disabled box. You know, banging her away from behind, right? Suddenly, she takes Ratty's cock out of goal, turns around me, goes, do you want fries with that? What a start. Anyway, we come out and there's this gammy little geezer in a wheelchair. Furious because he's had to wait so long, you know, tuts at me. So I lean into him, I go, I hope you have as much fun in there as we just did, you little cunt.
That's his therapist giving him relationship advice. Now, if you have a hard time understanding British slang and all that, you may have a little trouble with the show, but I've watched enough Peaky Blinders and other British shows to understand the humor and understand around here we call them beds, not bitches. But it's a great show. The fucking... one of the actresses is actually a comedic actress off the other British show we reviewed a while back about the cat who was 30. But it's a great show, and you can definitely see where Ricky Gervais was the original creator of The Office, because they work in a newspaper and they have that office environment. So I strongly recommend, if you want to cry, feel better about yourself, here's some raunchy humor. He becomes friends with a postal worker, a sex worker, a hoarder, and all kinds of weird shit, dude. It's just a great show. So I strongly suggest, if you're looking, short fucking seasons. These are like six episode seasons, so you'll blow through these 3 seasons really, really quick. Didn't realize they were that short tonight until I was doing the shows. And I was like, wow, there are only fucking 6 episodes per season. No wonder we're burning through them quickly. But yeah, I definitely recommend it. It's a great show. There's another show that's out. We'll talk about next week. It's a show that if you had a shitty childhood like some of us, it may also make you cry. It's called Made. Check that one out on Netflix too. We'll talk about that one next week. And shows that make Don cry.
Did watch Made.
That's a
rough one.
Yeah.
It's good.
Yeah, but if
really good acting. Andy
chances
McDowell.
are, if you're raised in the 80s and 90s by a divorced parent, some of that shit may be a little too close to home.
Especially if there's a cuckoo that's out of the clock.
Yeah. But you ready to kick this mule and start up the
Fire up the news, man.
Where's that?
Fire up the news, man.
Joining us now from the Digital 410 West News Desk in Las Vegas, Nevada, Gordon Abernathy.
Gordon, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing fine, and I'm doing better than the consortium of Swiss and French cheesemakers from the region around the town of Gruyere, Switzerland.
There's not a shortage of milk, is there?
No, but According to a federal judge here in the United States, Gruyere cheese does not have to come from the Gruyere region of Europe to be sold under the Gruyere name.
Gordon, we just got notification from the Bourbon Brewers of Kentucky saying, welcome to the fucking club, because now apparently you can call your shit bourbon even if it's not from Kentucky. Continue.
So, according to a consortium of Swiss and French cheesemakers, or cheesemongers maybe, from the region around this town of Gruyere, Switzerland, sued the U.S. District Court in Virginia after the Federal Trademark Trials and Appeals Board denied an application for trademark protections. The consortium says Gruyere, which is often a mild, smooth melting cheese that is a favorite for fondues, that does sound good, I do like my Gruyere too, has been made to exacting standards in the region since the early 12th century, and cheese made outside of this region cannot truly be called Gruyere, similar to the argument that champagne can only be applied to sparkling wines from the Champagne region of France. But, here's the big but, the U.S. Dairy Export Council and other groups oppose the trademark protection. They said that American consumers understand that Gruyere name is to be a generic name applying to cheeses of a certain style,
just like bourbon,
regardless to place of origin.
Because now there's whiskeys being produced in other regions outside of Kentucky that are taking on the moniker of bourbon.
Sorry, man, it just became generic.
You know what a monger is?
What is a monger?
Monger is denoting a dealer or trader in a specific commodity, such as a fishmonger or a cheesemonger.
So you could be a Gruyere monger.
A person who promotes a specified activity, situation, or feeling, especially one that's undesirable or discreditable. Warmonger.
Yes. You like art.
Boy, do I.
Did you ever like Spider-Man in the 80s and 90s?
I liked the cartoon from the 70s, obviously. I liked the first Tobey Maguire Spider-Man. I am probably one of the few people who didn't get into the whole comic book movie explosion. I think I saw the first X-Men, maybe the second one, but that's right around the time I got uninterested in that shit. But as I came on this podcast and professedly, exorbitantly decried when I went with my daughter and saw Spider-Man the Spider-Universe cartoon one, that was fucking fantastic, just because of the graphics and all that. But I haven't seen any of these other Spider-Man movies.
Well, we've heard of comic books selling for a lot of money, correct?
Mm-hmm.
How about a single page of artwork from the 1984 Spider-Man comic book that sold recently for, you gotta guess?
$130,000.
$3.36 million.
Jesus. What's the subject matter? I mean, that has to be a big
Mike
part of it.
Zeke's artwork for page 25 from the Marvel Comics Secret War number 8 brings the first appearance of Spidey's black suit, the symbiote suit, which would eventually lead to the emergence of the character Venom.
Okay, it's still not $3.8 million, but I can kind of get it, I guess.
The record bidding, which started at $330K, soared past $3 million, came on the first day of Heritage Auctions' 4-day comic event in Dallas. The previous record for an interior page of a U.S. comic book was $657,250 from art from the 1974 issue of Incredible Hulk. See, I always thought that for comics to be worth anything, they had to be in pristine condition, and the book had to be together, not just a sheet.
Well, that's what I was going to ask. What would the whole book go for? Would it be worth less?
I have no idea, but
And
needless
who
to
would have
say,
thought that book from 1994 would be such rarity that a single page would go for
84.
that much money? Well, 84.
decade off at 84.
I know,
yeah.
but when we think rare comic books, you're thinking like 30s and 40s, not fucking 1980s.
50s even, yeah. Speaking of expensive, the worst house on the best block of San Francisco, and I sent you in the email a link to this, just so you could see it.
Is it a tear
sold
down?
for $2 million.
Tear down.
Tear down a decaying 122-year-old, small tear down at that, a decaying 122-year-old Victorian marketed as the worst house on the best block of San Francisco sold for nearly $2 million. An eye-catching prize, the realtor said, was the outcome of overbidding in an auction.
Yeah, it looks like a Cincinnati trap house.
Yeah, a developer's $1.97 million cash offer, for the, actually it's not that small, it's a 2,158 square foot home.
And it almost looks like three
property in the Noah Village.
I was going to say
finalized last week.
It's 3 row houses put together because it has 3 front doors and 3 flights of steps. But anyhow.
Well, I think it's just the one on the end. Maybe it is the whole.
Well, I think originally it was probably one house back in the day, but probably somewhere in the 80s, someone bought it, put up 2 fucking interior walls, added 2 bathrooms, 2 front doors, and rented out as 3 separate units.
Well, one commenter actually joked that it actually has parking space. No wonder it sold for almost $2
driveway.
million. The property sold at several hundred thousands higher than other comparable fixer-uppers, so they're calling that a fixer-upper in the area, as a result of complex conservatorship sale. So this is insane. And then I've got one more quick story.
See, what you do is you tear all of it down but one wall, and then it's called a remodel, and then you don't have to meet any of the modern-day building codes.
Hong Kong.
Phooey, the #1 super guy.
COVID.
Movie, quicker than a human eye. What about
Hong Kong COVID hamsters?
Kia.
Hong Kong, coming in from the AP again. Hong Kong authorities said Tuesday that it's going to have to kill about 2,000 small animals, including hamsters, after several tested positive for the coronavirus at a pet store where an employee was also infected. The city will also stop the sale of hamsters and the import of small mammals, according to the officials from the Agriculture, Fisheries, and Conservation Department. The pet shop employee tested positive for Delta variant on Monday. Delta's still out there. And several hamsters imported from Netherlands at the store tested positive as well. According to the United States Center for Disease Control and Prevention, animals do not appear to play a significant role in spreading of the coronavirus.
But
Hong Kong authorities say they are not ruling out transmission between animals and humans. And that's probably because they're run by China, and they've been accusing this virus of coming from animal to begin with. Where is that pangolin? We cannot exclude the possibility that a shopkeeper was in fact actually infected from the hamsters, according to Edwin Zhu, a controller for the Center for Health Protection. While this coronavirus
shop
most
teachers
likely
sure have
jumped
fault.
from animals to humans in the first place, the outbreak became a pandemic because the virus spread so easily amongst people.
Shop teachers sure have come a long way since back in the day. Back then, they'd cut a pinky off on Friday, be back at work on Monday, and this guy's bitching about getting fucking COVID.
Minks are the only known animals to have caught the virus from people and spread it back, according to Dr. Scott Weiss at the Ontario Veterinary College. And there's some more stuff about this, but one of the things they say is do not kiss your pets. And I know they are shutting more and more places down in China because of Omicron, including parts of Beijing, which they've got the Olympics coming up real soon. Will it or will it not happen?
I say we just cancel just because it's China and fuck them.
Yes. That is it for the news. I don't want to talk about Ukraine. I don't want to talk about China.
I don't want to talk about the fact that Russia is going to send us all to the gulag, and I agree with that. So.
And now, breaking news. This concludes the evening news, and now back to the ACT Computer Studio in Cape Coral, Florida.
And this is going to conclude this episode of the What's in Your Head podcast. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with us for another episode. This episode of the What's in Your Head podcast, as always, has been brought to you by our friends at ACT Computers. ACT Computers has been providing IT solutions to all of Southwest Florida since 2004. But don't worry, even if you don't live in Southwest Florida, they can help you. How? Sure, through the website. As long as your internet works, of course. Give them a call at 239-283-1120 or send us an email at info@d-410.com, and we'll get you set up with that computers, and they can log into your computer remotely and help you out with all your problems. And if you do live here in Southwest Florida, they can help you. Give them a call at 239-283-1120 with everything from computer repair, laptop repair, anything IT related, they can help you. And as always, please head over to d-410.com or what'sinyourhead.com and click on the Patreon link and subscribe. It only costs you $1.50 a month and goes a long way to help us out here at the show. And while you're there, also go click on our YouTube channel and help us get to 1,000. I'm not going to tell you to get on my TikTok because I am now at 10,100 views. So I've reached subscribers. So I have reached my TikTok goals. Now we're just trying to get my YouTube up to 1,000. So if you guys really want to help us out, go over there. And when I was in Georgia this week, and I had a guy tell me, hey, I don't listen to your World War II podcast because I'm not on Facebook. And I said, hey, dear sir, we are not a Facebook podcast. We simply use Facebook to spread the word. And I guess we don't say it enough. You can find all of our podcasts on any of the fine podcast apps, from iHeartRadio to Stitcher to Spotify to Google Music Play to iHeartRadio to iTunes to whatever. And some of you with a smart eye might have noticed that actually Facebook does put podcasts up now. So after we upload them, it will show up on your timeline 26 days from now.
Yeah.
So thank you guys. So go help. And we still are selling T-shirts. You can get them on the website. No better time than now to buy a Suck It Up Buttercup shirt or a Second Amendment T-shirt and all that good stuff. And so thank you guys so much. And we will talk to you all on the next Tuesday.
This has been a Digital 410 production.